the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. In this episode, I talked to Caleb, Matt, and Kevin from the post-hardcore band Pulses from Virginia. We talk about their newest record coming out September 29th called It Wasn't Supposed to Be Like This. We do a deep dive on almost every track from the album, as well as talk about things like the recording process, which Caleb Taylor, one of their guitarists and vocalists, did the mixing. They only sent it out to somebody else for mastering, did all the mixing in-house. We talk a little bit of the fun and not fun parts of that for him, but also for the band. We talk about the features they chose, from everyone from Sierra from With Sails Ahead to Carson from the Callous Daoboys to Jared, who's a saxophone player that plays on one of the songs, to their song that they put out with Nightlife and Belle, and Gavin Cole, Loafers with the White Sox, which we'll be playing at the end of this. Make sure to check out the record when it comes out September 29th. This will be out the same week as that release, so make sure you check out Loafers with the White Sox, which is the latest single, again, with the singer from Nightlife, singer from Belle, and the singer Gavin Cole, all on the same recording with them. It was fantastic to go over all this stuff. I do have to say one little bit that hopefully doesn't take too many people out of it is the band sounds fantastic. Caleb, Kevin, and Matt sound great on this recording. I somehow turned my headphones on to record this at a weird time in the recording stage, to where the program I use switched it to the headphone microphone, and not the microphone you hear me using now that I use for all of our recordings. So I'm cleaning that up the best I can. I think it'll sound fine, but once again, the guests and also the special guest, that's one of the features that we have on here that was a surprise to me as well, will all sound absolutely fantastic. You'll just have to kind of deal with me maybe sounding a little bit more like I'm on AM radio in this, but I still hope you really enjoy it. It was a great deep dive into the lyrical content, songwriting influence, what people can expect from this, what they were trying to get out of this, and everything in between. It was absolutely fantastic to catch up with Caleb, Kevin, and Matt as always. It's the third time the band to some degree has been on here, and the second time I've had all three of them on, so it was awesome to talk to them as always. If you like the podcast, make sure to, or this is your first time listening, make sure to check us out on social media, The Powerless Pod, everywhere. Email me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com if you want to be on the show. If you are a musician, producer, journalist, activist, whatever else, I tend to talk both about politics, music, and how they intertwine if we can, or one or the other with people. I've had a lot of great guests on recently, from Shane Toll from Silverstein, to Andrew Herman from Johnny Booth, to Dan Hodgson from the Callous Daoboys, to Jordan Ewell, who's a journalist that I really appreciate and listen to a lot myself, that I had on, talked about his journey in music and politics. Talked to Shabir Rizvi, who's an independent journalist, talked about numerous things off the 3 episodes he's been on with me. We talked to Career Day, which is a great New York City-based emo pop punk band that talks a lot about political and social issues, which was really interesting and unique. Other ones we've had on, Garrett Russell from Silent Planet, Josh Lowe from Riverside Drive, numerous others that just go through the back catalog. Every guest has been fantastic. Even if it's an up-and-coming band you haven't heard of, I guarantee you'll get something out of the episode, so please check those out as well, not just the big names, because everyone on here has been a really interesting person to talk to, and I think you'd get a lot out of it. So again, reach out to me at the Powerless Pod everywhere. Check out the record that It Wasn't Supposed to Be Like This from Pulses, out September 29th, and listen to the conversation here right after a clip from a song from this. I am here with Matt, Caleb, and Kevin from Pulses. How are you guys all doing today?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, not bad.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. Before we jump in, because obviously we're going to talk about the new record, which will be announced when this comes out. The tracks will be out, so I'm not going over anything that I'll get in trouble for here, I hope. But the title, It Wasn't Supposed to Be Like This. Before we get into that, since, I wrote about this for the New Metal Agenda, but, we know a lot of people don't like to read. So let's before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about the Weekender you guys just did with Sails Ahead, Adventure, and the show that I saw, also Guardrail and Lucky Girl Syndrome were there. What
how did that go? How were those shows compared to some of the other ones from the main Woodland Creatures tour you did this year? And just kind of speak to that a little bit. I don't know, Matt, if you want to go first.
Sure. It was great. I was very surprised. I figured Chicago would be good because had people wanting us to go there for a while. But I think Pittsburgh might have honestly had the most people, or close to the most people, which is the one I thought would.
From the pictures, at least. Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to expect on that one, so it's they were all pretty well attended and all good shows. So I don't know. I'm feeling way more confident going into places that aren't as big of cities and whatever now, because I'm just oh, okay, people will come out, at least some people will. So
yeah, it's I definitely no complaints whatsoever. It was really nice just visiting those three cities because we had never played there. I know specifically even just Detroit and Chicago, I just never been, period. So yeah, being able to, like Matt said, being able to just go out there into other cities and then have people still show out for you is just, something I'm never going to be able to get fully used to. Well, it's I want to get used to, of course, and I hope people continue coming out. But it's just it's just one of those kind of full circle moments that, oh, this is a little bigger than just, your local area's shit. So just grateful for it.
Yeah, I feel all the same. But to touch on I guess, a different aspect of it, going out on a weekender, just 3 days, it's kind of a different experience than going out even just for the week. Not that we've done longer than a week, but they have different feels to them. I wanted to go on longer, but I also wanted to go home after 3 days. So it's it's just interesting how, you can feel a different sort of fulfillment going out for 3 days versus going out for a week. But it's all good, both ways. It's I'll continue to do whatever possible amount we can do to just get out to whatever city we actually can get to. It's worth it every time.
Yeah, it's too bad. I guess the for the tourist end of things on my end in Chicago, the Bean was closed off for you. What a bummer!
Yeah.
Right?
We had a good time still with it,
Yeah.
A lot of thoughts, of course, of our whole we're gonna storm the Bean.
Storm the Bean.
Yeah, I got it. With all the indictments and stuff going on right now, I got a January 6th the Bean, right? There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think you literally said that. I think somebody said that.
Nah, I did, yeah. I was we can January 6th that shit, insurrect the Bean, let's go.
Insurrect the Bean, that's the best line. There you go.
They had the sandbags were on the side that the Bean was on, so I'm this wouldn't even be hard. You could just it's like it seemed like they were trying to keep the Bean in, not keep us out. So I don't know what was going on. But
there was one cop.
Yeah, there was only one cop. So what are they gonna do?
Yeah, that's very rare for a tourist area of Chicago for there to be one cop. So you could have totally taken that shit. It's fine.
Yeah.
No,
Next time.
But that's good. It went well. It seemed like the shows were great. I didn't realize that for you guys it was the first time ever in Chicago. I had known that for with sales ahead it was, but that's awesome. I'm glad to hear the shows went well. Hopefully we'll see you guys all out here sooner then, because I did see when I was going through and taking a little bit of notes for this, I was surprised at how many of your listener base, at least on Spotify, which I know is not everything, but if you look at the numbers that you can look up on a desktop or whatever, it's one of the biggest cities you have for routine listeners, which I did not know before I was kind of researching for stuff for today a little bit. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why it was on the top of our list for so long, because we're just why is Chicago teetering between numbers 1 and 5 on Spotify for ever. So I guess we gotta go and find out. I don't know what's going on, but
yeah. Well, and that venue was sick too. Shout out to I think Backyard 606. Yeah, they followed the podcast too afterwards. I was I gotta go check out some other bands there. It's just who cooks up fucking tacos and quesadillas and shit.
That's incredible.
Bands they're doing it's awesome. But
yeah, for real. And it's apparently they have been doing it for 2 years too. So.
No, I had no idea. Yeah, I mean, I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, but I still had no idea about this venue. It was sick. But that's great. Of course, we're not here to talk about that Weekender. It was awesome. I want to really dive into this album. The first thing I kind of wanted to talk about generally, and then I thought maybe we'd go track by track a little bit. Maybe ask each one of you what your favorite track is and why and things of that nature. But I know from talking with Caleb at the show, and Matt, what you and I have talked about through Twitter or X.com, the Everything app, that that this was mixed. This was in-house mixed, right? This was kind of all taken on by the band. So, and this was the first, at least, full project you've done where you've done that, correct? So, what was that like? Did you enjoy doing that? Is that something you want to do again? Did you hate it? What would kind of speak to that a little bit? Because
it was great for the rest of us. I don't know how it was for Caleb, but it was great for the rest of us.
See, I got lucky that I got into a time of, you know, on your resume.
In between jobs.
Yes. So they're going to be asking me, oh, yeah, what have you been doing last month? Man, I've been cooking up fire, dog. I've been mixing the record. But, yeah, so I got lucky with that timing, too. So it made it a lot less, you know, stressful than it probably could have been if I was working full-time at the same time. I was like working like while we were tracking it, but yeah, by the time I got to the mixing stage, I was unemployed, so got to focus most of my time on that. But it was still it was very gratifying. Also, it kind of proved to me that I'm like, yeah, I think we did write some good music that I can spend hours at a time working on these songs and not fucking hate them by the end of it. Like, it's just like I still run the record back all the time as if, you know, I didn't do that, and I just enjoy listening to it. So grateful for that, and then just learned a lot during that process, because I'm still always just learning still when it comes to engineering. But I think overall, like for all four of us at least, it just allowed us to really experiment with things, give us more time on things as well, to get everything sounding exactly how we wanted to, especially on the production side of things, like all like the programming. I know Matt did so much of it. Just allowed us to do things like that we hadn't done as much on the previous material.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to just like if we're like, oh, Caleb, there's like 2 things on that mix, he can just fix them real quick. Or if we're like, oh, we need like this sound effect here, I can just like do it and send it over, and then he can mix it in. Like, we don't have to like go back and forth with someone who lives like somewhere else that like only replies to us. Like, not that we've had bad experiences with that, but just like it's easier to have like someone who's already in our group chat, just like.
Well, and there's a little less of that anxiety, because, you know, I haven't been in a band that's been as regularly, you know, touring and putting out music as you all, but I do empathize with just the idea of like the anxiety of like the 6th time you send a message to a mixer or a producer, you're like, yeah, can you do this little tweak here? That's not, you know, it's just a bitch to do, where, you know, you feel less bad doing it to somebody else in your band or yourself when you're the mixer. So that makes a lot of sense that you can really nitpick it without, without, like you said, waiting, and also feeling like a total dick that somebody is like, you know, here we go for the 30th time on this track, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny too, because like I'll still get that even as the engineer, like one of them just being like, hey, can you change this? Sometimes I'm just like, man, fuck.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like, of course, it's like, I love y'all, and of course I want it to be as good as possible, so it's way easier still to just swallow your pride, or, you know, deal with the nitpicks, because again, you know, all 4 of us want it to be as best as possible. So
yeah,
right. And for the I know, and again, Caleb and I talked a little bit about this at the show. But I know for being like an in-house, you know, a lot of people we talked about this a little bit, that a lot of people go to those kind of sampled drums, programmed drums a lot. You said that you did not do that. You still did them live. Last time I asked Matt and Caleb a bunch about guitars, and had Kevin sit there twiddling his thumbs a little bit. But this time, like, what kit did you use for those? Because you know, I don't know if Matt told you, but he sent me the record over. I listened through it. First of all, Caleb, sounds fantastic. You should do this every time if you have the time, because
appreciate it.
Like, I think it's the best sounding record you have, like just production wise, mixing, whatever else. I don't think there was a downgrade at all from you doing it in house. I think it was an upgrade. So you're gonna have to deal with that, you know, the next time around. But
yeah, no, I've accepted it. I'm glad. I appreciate that a lot, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. But Kevin, for you with tracking the drums, and because to me, drums kind of make or break a record, you know, especially in heavy music, modern, post-hardcore, metal, rock, whatever. Um, uh, you know, what kit did you use to record for this, and how tedious were you with the tones when you went through this?
So the best thing to say about that is I don't give a shit about gear. like I generally don't.
I love
But
it.
the kit is actually like a Frankenstein kit. Basically, it's just a bunch of different parts. The kick is the PDP kit that I've had for years. The floor tom is my uncle's because I guess he had a kit in his house. I think one of our cousins was playing drums for a minute because he does music too. But I think he does like hip hop stuff. But he wasn't using it. Like he moved out of his uncle's house or our uncle's house, and didn't need it. So he was like, "Do you guys want this? I don't know anything about this. I don't want it in my house anymore. Can you take it?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." We had no idea like what like specs or anything. We were just like, this could be like a first act like type kit, like the first thing you've ever seen at Walmart or whatever, or it could be something good. And it turned out to be something good. It's like a vintage kit, right?
I think it was in Orange County, something like that.
Oh, those
I can't
are.
remember.
I didn't know that's what it was. Those are supposed to be really. I don't know shit about drums, but I've heard that those are like really
Right.
good.
Yeah,
It was like Orange County, at least 2 pieces of it, and then like the other 2 pieces are like Mapex.
right.
Yeah.
So they're pretty solid. I'm like, okay, this is actually like a total come up compared to like what I have.
And what I was gonna say, not only that, he like sent over like mics too, and it ended up being good mics. They're like Audix, like drum mics. So we recorded some of the drums with those mics too.
Yeah, so it's just like everything from all over, kind of my kit and my uncle's kit, who lives in Texas, by the way. He's shipped that over from Texas.
Oh yeah, man. It's great.
Yeah, so it was pretty sick. So that's like the gear side of things. I guess like the tracking side, I still used Rock Band to play along to our songs and tracked it that way. It worked out pretty well. It's like it's the one quirk I feel like I have, and I love to talk about it at any time.
I saw. Didn't you see some other drummer doing it the other day? And you were just like, "There's more of us."
Yeah, there was some drummer that was like, "Oh, I'm learning this like, oh, the new what was it? The new Job for a Cowboy song off of a Rock Band custom." And I'm like, "Yeah, we do that."
I might see you
Some of
share
us.
that on X the Everything app, or something, because I'm gonna stop saying that. It's not funny.
It's still Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing you can like, dead name, right? I think I saw that too, and I said this before the last time we talked about this because it was funny that you mentioned that I was in a band with like one of the tightest drummers I've ever played with. He didn't read music, didn't know anything. He literally learned it from dicking around in Rock Band and like sat down at a
Yep.
kit, did the same thing, right? Like it's the one time one of those games has actually like really helped people get an instrument. But that's really
yeah.
cool. So yeah, the drums sound fantastic. I love that you say you don't
Thank
give a shit
you.
about it. It still sounds absolutely great. I don't know if that's you or Caleb or whoever did that, but great job.
I try to. I mean, it's generally just let's just hope this doesn't sound like shit and just go with it.
And he did beef up some of it with some samples here and there,
Yeah.
but it's just to make it work. But it did start with real drums first, and
I think it's like the only thing I sampled was just kick and snare.
yeah,
Yeah, which everybody has to do nowadays, right? Like it's just how it works. Like if anybody says they don't do that, they're lying. But absolutely. Again, just want to reiterate, Caleb, you did an awesome job on this. It sounds super, super great. I want to get next into the features you have on here, which I know you started teasing today with the next single you're going to put out, Loafers to the White Sox. There's a decent amount of features on here, right? We've got Hansel Romero, Joey Lancaster, Gavin Cole, obviously Sierra from With Sales Ahead. Second time she's been on music with you guys. Ben Rockwood, the Jer one, was that a sax feature? I wanted to ask if that was
It's sax, trombone, and trumpet. Jer is also Scottoon Network. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No.
Okay, yeah, they do like covers. Jer is like their original music, and then Scottoon Network is like covers of like emo songs and stuff, like ska covers. So yeah, they just like it was just like a perfect
So that was
fit.
the instrumental.
Yeah. When I said there was an instrumental feature, that's what I was talking about.
Like it's instrumental and it's not a fucking guitar solo. I was like, great, awesome.
Yeah.
But you got that, of course. then you got Carson from Callous Daoboys, which
Yeah.
we'll get into it, but it's no surprise that I also love long songs, so that one was my favorite, and I love like album enders, so it's just
Nice.
it was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. What were the thoughts behind having so many features on this album? It was very cohesive. It made a lot of sense, but did you really think through each song what it needed? Was it just kind of hitting up friends or hitting up people that you really liked musically, vocally, whatever? What was the thought behind having so many collaborations on this record?
I feel like just first to address it, like with the number of features, I just feel like, of course, we always try and take a lot from take a lot of inspiration from like hip hop stuff. So, it's like a lot of them got a shit ton of features on their records, and it's just like, and it's homies too. And it's like, I know, because like you said, Sierra, this is her second time on our record. This is Joey's second time on our record too. And it's in the
Gavin.
equivalency I make all the time. It's just like, yeah, if Drake comes out with a record, you're not going to complain to see Future on it. He's like, he's got the regular collabs he's going to do. So when you got homies and you gel right, just, keep going for it. So probably not going to last time again to see those two, on the song of ours.
It's Gavin's third time technically, because he was.
Oh yeah,
he did,
that's true.
He did backups on a song like uncredited, and then he was on the last record. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, and then every time also we always try and be cognizant of like, what the feature skill set is and where they kind of fit, and then also sometimes where they fit and where we think they could fit that they haven't really done yet, or at least that everybody isn't exposed to. So because it's just like all of us are like multifaceted people, it's just like, just because somebody does like a bunch of heavy shit doesn't mean they can't do some soft shit, as we'll probably, I guess, talk to more with Carson. So because even for him, he was just like, oh, you're not gonna have me scream on this, and we were like, nah. All singing.
So again, I don't mean to keep referencing things nobody else has heard, but Matt and I talked a little bit after the sets in Chicago, and you said that there was a feature you did where the person was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know what you're asking.
Carson.
That was Carson. Yeah. Because I listened to that and I was surprised there wasn't screaming from Carson on there. But the feature was fantastic, right? So, and that was the person that you said. I mean, I should probably have you say this and not me, but I'm a bad podcaster, so I'll say it. But I remember you said that they said, Carson said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And like 30 minutes later, send it over exactly what you wanted, right?
Yeah. We had a call talking about it, and like we were like, you got this. Like, it's going to be great. Like, just sing it like you sang like the hook on like the song that we did together for their EP. And they're like, okay. I got 2 hours. I'm going to Europe in like 2 days. I got 2 hours to do this. We'll see how this goes. And then literally in our chat, like 30 minutes later or 20 minutes later, they were like, all right, give me 30 minutes. I got it. And then 20 minutes after that, we got it. So
since we're on the subject, because, I just put out the episode today for anyone else listening. Today is when I put out the episode with Callous Daoboys. And Dan talked about that the song y'all are on with them, the designer Shroud of Turin, that there's parts that sound, I don't know if they were joking or not, but they said sounds like there's parts that sound like NSYNC in the song. I didn't know if they were being tongue in cheek or if it was true, because Callous Daoboys, you never know what's real and what's being tongue in cheek or whatever.
It's
but is
true.
That song is like one of, like, obviously all their shit is chaotic, but that song is one of the most chaotic things I've ever heard. Like, it's all over the place. So
I'm so sure. I can't wait to hear it. It'll be awesome. But again, I was just kidding. But again, that song was fantastic. All the different features, I think, really, like you said, you could tell that they were well thought out, and that, like, sometimes bands will do a feature and it's cool. They feature somebody that has like a different tone to their voice, and it's fine. But each one of these really accent. I actually I just messaged Sierra today when I was listening through the record, just that about how great the feature was on that. And it's not like she hasn't been on a song with you guys before, but like that song's a lot different than the last song that she was on with you guys. And it's like, I don't know, I felt like it was like a good like mid-album like palate cleanser in a way, that it's a little more of like a ballad until you come in with like some screams at a certain point. But like that it was really cool, kind of back and forth with the singing vocals and all that. It just really showed that you thought about these pretty meticulously. I would say, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like I know for that one, especially we had gotten in a room together with her as well, so that made it also special because we knew like really going into it that it was like, yeah, this is the song for her. That because of course we were gonna get a song with her no matter what on the record. Yeah, we just wanted that, you know, that type of voice. We thought she could kill it.
Yeah, Jepsen, I really liked it on. I think it was the last chorus, where she's kind of doing like those accent, you know, additional vocals over the top, and it just added a lot to kind of the climax of the song. So it was really really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can say something too.
Oh shit!
I can't believe we've done this twice now.
Surprise!
What's up?
I'm living in their walls. That's how I go. Just kidding. How's it going? Good to see you, Brandon.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. What are your thoughts on the song that you were featured on? I guess then that's really funny.
So, I was so stoked to be put on this one. I mean, the production's amazing, the songwriting is amazing, everything, the instrumental, so fucking good. And on this one, we got to actually collaborate on the lyrics together. So I came down for a trip, and we like took an afternoon to do a songwriting session, and so we, you know, wrote lyrics on the spot. I had some ideas kind of going into it, like what I wanted to say. And everything just came out really naturally, melodies, like lyrics, all of it. So one of my favorite Pulse's tracks is As a Treat, and I kind of saw this song as like a counterpart to it in a way, especially like the lyrics. So like if As a Treat is kind of like the sunny, like, you know, getting yourself up and like pushing through and like finding like the happiness and like you know, like a difficult time, and like this song is kind of like the, like, you know, you wake up on a cloudy day and you're like, damn, shit sucks, and like I need to just like get it together and like, you know, be real with myself and, you know, give myself that same grace that, you know, like a friend would give you if a friend was like trying to like hype you up, or like if you were trying to hype up a friend. So yeah, so the lyrics, you know, I kind of like not only did I kind of like write about anxiety and how like really like cyclical negative thoughts can like overpower yourself and like cloud out what is otherwise, you know, like, you know, you can find a lot of, you know, if you just like kind of flip your thoughts and reframe things, you can find a lot of you know, positivity in your circumstances. It's just like understandably shit gets rough and like that's, you know, what this song is about, just like trying to, you know, like give yourself that courage to just like, you know, I don't know, like it's a lot of emotional stuff. I mean, but overall, like the song really resonates with me, like the lyrics, the melodies, like everything is just so beautiful. And then like even recording it, like that day I had like, it was like a real tough day, so I went into that session also like feeling like the weight of like my own existence, so it really played into like the performance and everything you hear. And I'm super grateful to be on the track. It's like, and now it's like also one of my favorite Pulse songs. And yeah,
Great.
I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Well, awesome. I love that you were able to jump in and do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Since Sierra just talked on the lyrical content of this, does anybody else? I don't, you know, I know you guys are pretty collaborative. Does anybody else have any other thoughts lyrically on what went on in the song, the inspiration behind it, or did she just kind of fucking nail it? What
I mean, she did like all the way thoroughly. The only other, I guess, piece is just like, I don't know. I like writing stuff that is like can be emotional at times. People know us for like our jokes and like jovial bullshit and whatnot, and that's cool. But it's like we have times where we're sad or upset or, you know, introspective too, and so, you know, there's jokes in these lines still, despite it being like pretty emotional song. And I think it's important to just have that dichotomy in our stuff, regardless of, you know, whatever the content is. You know, there's always going to be something to laugh about, and I think that's kind of important to the context of the song too.
Yeah, it's kind of the epitome of, I not to keep referencing a different podcast I just put out today, but when I was talking to Dan from Callous Daoboys, like we were talking about that, it's fine to make heavy music, make serious music, make things about things that really connect with people, but at the same time also not take yourself too seriously at the same time, right? And like it's cool that you guys don't just do that in like kind of like a video or live performance approach or something like that. You're also doing a little bit, you can do a little bit of a funny reference in the middle of a gut-wrenching song that you're writing about, of something that's really relatable and really means a lot to you, right? Because like nobody's like, even in your saddest moments or the most depressed moments, you'll find something that makes you laugh. Or even like, I don't know, in my own life, like I've been so down on something that I laugh about how fucked up and trivial it all is. So, like,
Right, yeah.
like it's a super relatable thing. So that's a great point. To keep going on the record here, in general, I was going to ask this, and Sierra did a good segue. But good job, Sierra. Thanks. In general, you just talked about the lyrical content of this specific song that Sierra was on. Honestly, in general, what were some lyrical inspirations for you guys? What?
Wait. Are we talking? No, you guys. No, this is about the lyrics that you guys wrote. Never mind.
She's saying that now.
Here's what I will say. So because the song is somber, introspective. Like I wanted to throw a nod to something that growing up gave me comfort, or was kind of just comfort shows, comfort media, anything. So I wanted to put that Toonami reference in there. And then we tried so hard to put a Kingdom Hearts reference in there too. We did it. We made it happen. Yeah, I remember they I was something about Oathkeeper, Oblivion, and they nailed it down. So yeah, okay, that's it.
The Toonami reference, that opens up portals to my childhood in my brain.
I love that so much. That's what I intended for sure.
Yeah, that got me into anime and various things so much. It's so good. Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's what I love
Shouts
about
out Steve Bloom.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about your guys' music too, though. In general, you'll throw in these references that are goofy in a fantastic way, that are so specific that a lot of bands in post-hardcore or emo or metalcore are especially metalcore, are so serious they won't do a pop culture reference or something that's inspiring in a direct way. And it's why not? Hip hop does it, and it's fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. But no one in the scene does it better than them, and that's all I'm gonna say. Goodbye.
Thanks for being a guest here. There we go. That was awesome.
Our podcast features.
Yeah. That's the features. This is now officially the one that I've done that has the most people in it. So there you go.
There you go.
But in general, because I'm somebody you guys know on this podcast, I chugged that beer too fast. I'm burping. But on this podcast, I like to talk about lyrical inspiration, even if it's not, political or social necessarily. Just kind of dive deep into the lyrics. So be as specific as you want. What were the lyrical inspirations? If you each have a favorite song you want to talk about that you really like the lyrical content, or what the song's about, just kind of speak to that a little bit. I don't know who would want to go first, but just speak about what the lyrical content is for this record.
Most of it's me, but Matt, you can talk about it.
I can talk about
the
the ones I did real quick, because I did the lyrics on Them Phones and Kupo.
I thought you probably did Kupo, because that one is a lot of you. That's a lot of you.
Yeah,
right?
which is not something I normally try to do. Normally if I'm writing vocals, I will still try to make Caleb do as much as possible, because it makes my job easier when we play it. But that song it was a lot of screaming, and a lot of it is actually Caleb. There's a lot of trading off between us on that one. A lot of the lines that come at you really fast are
back
like
and forth or whatever.
yeah, and then it'll flip. So it's like I know like the second halves of I guess it's a weird structure, but like what feels like the verse is like I'll do the line, Caleb will do the response, and then Caleb will do the line, and I'll do the response. So it kind of does like flip flop back. But that one I did try to do like
you got two vocalists that can do whatever the fuck they want. You know, that's helpful. yeah.
It's real nice that we can both do things because it saves us a lot of trouble live. I feel like. But that one's cool. I didn't really go super specific lyrically on that one. It's more just a general depression kind of song. But then Them Phones, I was like stoked on the stuff I wrote for that one because I did a lot of like, I don't know. I feel like genuinely like this sounds like I'm just saying this because he's in my band, but like Kevin is like, I try to write when I'm writing for Pulse's stuff. Like Kevin is one of the biggest like lyrical inspirations for me. So, cause I want it to like, well, I like the way that you write and I don't want it to be like too different if I'm writing something. That one I tried to put in like a lot of references. Like I had the fucking DJ Khaled, jet ski incident lyrics in there and, like the chef reactions TikTok references in there. That song is just about like people online that just think they know everything about everything and try to like force you to do things a certain way, or are just like if you don't do it this way you're like an idiot. And it's like, all right, cool. Like none of us understand how TikTok works. None of us understand how fucking Twitter works, especially now. Like, you know.
Are you talking more about like when like there'll be like a TikToker or like an influencer? God, like my favorite term on the planet. But where they'll try to like tell you this is the way you need to do things.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you need to do this to like get engagement, and like you need to post you need to post 5 times a day and all this shit. And it's just like, nah, like 1, I'm not going to do that. 2, that doesn't work for everybody clearly, because there's bands sitting there with like, you know, no views on their shit and they're doing everything quote unquote right. So it's just like, I don't know, like just don't act like your way is the only way, because that's like not how it is a lot of the time. And then there was stuff about like Twitter on there with just like the general discourses that happen every week or two.
It's beautiful. It's so positive.
Yeah.
Like, good time there. Doesn't rot bones whatsoever. Nothing happens. You know, I don't know what you're talking about.
But that's like, there's stuff in there about like, oh, you need to not, you know, you need to sleep in the van. Like I was talking about that on there. It's just like all that stuff where it's just like, all right, come on, y'all. Like let's just have a good time. We don't got to do all this. So that's what that one's kind of about.
People like, you know, to talk about that topic for just a split second, then we'll get to the rest of the songs, the lyrical content of them. But like, I hate when people do that. Like there's a magic to it where like the actual magic to being in a successful band to the baseline extent is like, first of all, writing good music. Like there's people that will go viral. Like I think I saw like that, I don't even want to reference it, but there was like that emo trash song viral on it's like that band is not going to sell consistent tickets to shows and go on tour because 1 million people saw that. Like no one's gonna go see it because it was garbage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you guys think it was good. That's fine. But
no,
like,
no.
Okay, just one thing. I didn't want to step on any toes there. But you know what I mean? It's like something I've said on this podcast over and over and over. It's like, you know, of course, like viral marketing, TikTok, fucking Twitter, or whatever. Like, that is all things bands have to do now. Fortunately or unfortunately, if you're good at it. But like, if you don't put out good music and you don't write stuff that speaks to people, like no one's gonna fucking care that you beat the algorithm, put out some like super shitty thing that people hate watch and blow up all over the place. It's still about making good songs. Like what do people think is gonna happen? It's just about like output. Like no, like that's so stupid.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I digress from my soapbox for a second there. All right, let's talk about
I
the
absolutely
that-
agree.
Yeah, that was my soapbox on that song. So it's like, I agree. And then those were the only two I wrote, and then Kevin did the rest of them. So
Yeah. Lyrically, I guess overall, again with the hip hop, it's just really just the driving force. Everything that I write generally starts out as raps first, like whether they be like repurposed to screams, like right away, straight away, with like stuff like Run the Ghouls or like Different Strokes. Sometimes they'll get repurposed into a hook, like honestly, I'd say that one was one. Some of like the faster ones, the faster hooks get repurposed, but generally that's like the main, I guess, kind of focus. So you'll get really self-contained stuff, a lot of punchlines, a lot of references to things, a lot of double entendres. I love the way words work is my like best like asset, I guess. But then there are times, where you gotta say things, like I said before. But it is a very self-referential song to this band and like what we do and how we've done things. And but it's also just a, another remember to celebrate yourself kind of thing and your journey. So, there are times where I'll hunker down and like pick an idea and, go on that. Heaven or Helvetica is about people thinking you're a clone and, not being a clone. So, there are times when you make some commentary and that's that. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. Some of the like more party topics, come out, just dancing, having a good time, throwing down. And that's always just fun.
You wrote about a fucking Hey Arnold episode in one of them too.
I did. That was, what was that on? Ask a Unc. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Pigeon Man references because I don't know if you remember that episode.
Yeah, I thought there was a reference there. Obviously I didn't have the lyrics on hand. I listened to the record several times. But I was going to ask if that was what that was, because the last time we recorded, you guys talked about the Arnold reference. Here we are again. Like very in the times, right? That show's still going on, right? Is it? I don't know. But
no,
it's so nostalgic to like, probably I would guess like we're all relatively around the same age that like that is, talk about nostalgia right there. That's fantastic. I know that again, I'm not trying to be like a downer in on soapboxy or whatever, but
good.
Yes, I do talk about like political and social things. I know like you talked about a little bit on Twitter, Kevin, and also at the show. Like I know you've been kind of talking about just like inclusivity and people respecting each other and things of that nature and not being fucking bigots and stupid shit like that. Was there any reference to anything like that in this, or was it more of just like fun reference? And I'm not like shitting on if it's not, right?
Yeah.
Like I enjoy music that is not about that stuff as well. I'm not sitting here forcing you to say something, but like was there any inspiration from like, I guess, like current events topics like that, or anything just like personally for you that you threw in this, along with the pop culture references and general mental health and all those things as well, or was it
I feel like it was a lot more general this time, and I think that was kind of okay. I think there are some things here and there that kind of hint towards, like, again, like entendres, double entendres. You can think of it as like either something really general, just like, oh, this is how I feel, and this is how you should feel, blah blah blah, or you can think about it further in reference to the band, and like, this is how we feel about our place in the music scene and our journey and whatnot. But then you could also think about it in a term of like, oh, this is for human rights or something like that. But I'm not trying to say that that's like the explicit like that I wrote it for that, but it definitely can be
that way. What I mean?
Right.
Like,
and I mean, we did that a lot more on Speak Less, I think. And I got kind of like what I needed to say out on that one, as far as just like, you're gonna listen, you're gonna like it, like kind of thing. But this time around, it's just like, it is really just, I think that's where I'm at in my life right now, at least in thinking towards this record, was just more like, there's a whole lot of that shit that's out there that a lot of people are saying good things, and I'll say my piece like in person or on Twitter or whatever, but like, it's just not the time, for a lot of that. And I wanted to have this be somewhat of a kind of oasis in all that too.
Well, and this is something I've mentioned with a different band I had on not that long ago, where like it's more about having people that are good, decent people in the scene than it is like making sure you have a bullhorn in every single one of your songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because people also need to be able to enjoy themselves and party and have a good time with you.
Mm.
Like, they're not all like me, where I just like write about depressing, like, socialist agenda bullshit, right?
Hey, but there really is a time and place for it all. Like, and that's the thing. I guess it's just.
Yeah, but you get what I'm also like. I really appreciate that about you all. That like, I'll see your presence online, or I'll see you at a show or whatever, and you make no qualms about like, this is for everybody. Like, we should be accepting of everybody. If you're not, you're a piece of shit. Fuck off, and let's have a good time, kind of deal, right? Like, that's needed. Like, sometimes more. Like, we already have Rage Against the Machine. You know what I mean? Like, we
right.
like we can move on and have good music, have a good time, and just make sure people aren't douchebags, right? Going from that, thanks for going into that with the lyrics. I thought, like, I listened through a few different times. Like I said, I don't have the lyrics on paper. I know you guys have a lot of lyrics because some of the parts are very, very rapid when it comes to the vocal delivery. One thing I wanted to speak to, I'm kind of going all over the place here, but one thing I did want to speak to is, I think it was Take a Look, Y'all, where it starts off with the record scratches, right? That's the one that, right? Was that Kevin? Was that you doing the rapping parts in that, or who was doing the
first one?
Yeah. Well, fucking ripped, by the way. Like, that was so good. I just like, so I told Matt this before you guys jumped on, but I'm gonna write about the record track by track for the New Metal Agenda. Shout out if they hear this.
Thank you.
But definitely looking forward to hearing reading what you say.
That also certified it as a new metal record. I'll say that on the record. It's got record scratches and also screams on a song. It's definitely new metal. I lost my train of thought. But it was just fantastic to hear like the collection in this record. From everything from like, the Honestly song that Sierra was on, that was, most of it felt kind of not ballady, but more somber for you guys. Other ones that, you've already released, like Different Strokes from the Ghouls, very punchy, the hooks, even if the hooks are screaming, like kind of like are caught in your head kind of deal. I guess like I'm kind of going all over the place here, but like what were some of the big musical influences for you guys on this record? I know we talked back when you put out Different Strokes, I think, about some of the musical influences you have, but this record feels like that your most eclectic record when it comes to the sounds. Like there's everything from, like I said, record scratches to like a more, It Wasn't Supposed to Be Like This, that short track that's mostly acoustic and has the catchiest vocals in the world on it. Like, I had it stuck in my head all day.
Killer was in his bag on that one.
Yeah, it's good. And also, and to like, like Kupo, which is just like a straight up hardcore song in a lot of ways, post-hardcore song. What were some of the big influences you all had? You can each speak, to kind of what you were listening to when you made this, whatever. What were the big influences you had musically on this record?
I think it varies song to song, because we have a lot of like really specific ones from song to song, and then a lot of it is just.
Do it.
What do you say?
I said go song to song. Do it.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, hold on, let me pull this track list up again.
I can read it for you. Let's go track by track. Different Strokes. What was a big influence on that one for you guys?
That one was definitely like, I wanted to, and this is gonna allude to even maybe what we'll do in the future too. I wanted to go for like a dance punk vibe, and that was almost the kind of influence I wanted all over the record. Didn't end up happening this time, so maybe in the future. But I'm not to say that I'm not happy with how everything turned out, because it's just the way the cookie crumbles, you know. Anyway, yeah, different strokes. I want to do dance punk type shit. I wanted to do Block Party. I wanted to mix in this one band, Fake Shark Real Zombie. They do like art punk, dance punk type shit. And then I also wanted to put in the kind of more direct post-hardcore influence, like At the Drive-In, like looking at specifically like One Arm Scissor. So I wanted to just combine all that.
Yeah.
Run the Ghouls. What about that one?
That was specifically Church by T-Pain for like the verses and stuff, and then like Turnstile and End It and like Baltimore hardcore type shit for the breakdown.
That Turnstile breakdown in there is like straight out of a song from theirs in a good way, not a rip off.
No, that's literally like I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I got these verse parts, and I was like, cool, I'm just gonna put a Turnstile breakdown in it. So that's literally what it was. So but that's the main thing on that one. I don't know if Kevin vocally had any other ones on that one, but
not really. I
well,
mean, it's
lyrically,
just like general like jock
flows.
jam bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I guess we could talk a little bit about this since it'll be the next single. You know, I think this is coming out. You said next week. Next Friday,
15th.
Yeah. Loafers. I guess if I was a good podcaster, I would have gone with this at the beginning. But Loafers with the White Sox. What were the musical influences? What was kind of the trajectory for that song? Because very interesting song, and in a good way. I think it's one of the most unique songs on the record in some ways.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I love how that one came out. Basically, the whole thing is trying to do New Jack Swing, you know, so it's like 80s, like R&B, hip-hop type of deal. And then so you got groups like, you know, New Edition or like Boys to Men and things like that, you know, Belle Biv DeVoe. So that was kind of going for all that. And then also because of them, you know, being a lot of R&B groups, that's why I wanted to get that many features on it, because I wanted it to be like a actual group. Everybody's kind of harmonizing with each other. Everybody has their own little solo parts. So that's how that all came together. And then just or like fucking, you know, this even influenced our first record, you know, 24 Karat Magic, you know, Bruno Mars album. It's like, I love that album to pieces. So yeah, just stuff of that era is. I
ripped that fucking right from Finesse off that record. Production.
You know, the next couple, like I know we already went through honestly, but like the Ain't Got No Ceiling song, that's another. I feel like I'm saying this about every song, but that's because I think this is your best record. Ain't Got No Ceiling. What was kind of the musical inspiration for that one? Kind of the feel for it. Where'd you guys go with that one?
I think that was mostly just like, that was one of the few I didn't have as much going into that I wanted to be drawn specific, but I definitely ended up kind of being more along the lines of like this kind of soft song that you would hear on like a Thursday record, you know, like Standing on the Edge of Summer. It always reminded me also of Taking Back Sunday. So that's kind of where the whole influence came from, with like both Matt and I doing clean vocals on it and kind of trading off.
Yeah, I liked because I didn't get to dive into a record like this with you all prior, obviously. I liked hearing the kind of back and forth that Matt referenced earlier of you all vocally. That, you know, it's like even in the songs that you don't have features on, it almost feels like there could be a feature because of like the amount of just between the two of you, or when, you know, Kevin would do some rapping on it, the amount of voices you have just between a 4-piece band. Did your bass player do
David gets in there too? He did
some of the lows and stuff like that, right?
On Heaven or Helvetica on the chorus, that's him doing the lows. He did some other ones in a few spots. I know I did some lows, but he did, like, he kind of came in toward the end. Like, we tried to just fit him in a few more places and like on like
between
spots that
seeing
needed
him
extra.
live with the few that he did at your show, and also like hearing some of those, I was like, it's got to be.
He's a monster.
Yeah,
he's on the.
He
does this
some Whitechapel stuff if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
He does some lows on the Daoboys feature too, which are just like he's becoming our low scream guy at this point, because he keeps doing it so good every time.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's gotten even better over time, because I know we haven't as much given him now, but now that he's kind of like putting a little bit more, then it's just like, and it's like Matt just said, you know, he kind of came in near the end. He's a busy guy, so it's like most of the time, especially a lot of our vocal tracking sessions, he's not there for. But that's why as we were finishing up, that's why we're just like, oh, throw in some stuff. You got your shit now.
Dude's an animal live. Like
Yeah.
I did not understand how someone can play like those intricate of bass riffs and also move around that much.
Caleb and I are trapped behind mics the whole time. He's got to make up that frontman energy and just run around and shit. So
I was trying to take pictures and like I went to go get one of him and I couldn't. It was blurry every time. But the Ask an Uncle one we talked about a little bit with the Hey Arnold references. I absolutely love that. Take a look, y'all. We talked about them phones. I really liked. I liked the amount of screaming in that one and like the kind of heavy influence in there, along with like the horn instrumentation.
Yeah.
Like a ska band showed up to a post-hardcore recording in like the best. It was absolutely fantastic.
That was like for the longest time. We just kept joking, like, all right, this next record is going to have a ska song on it. And we just kept saying it for the longest time. And then we had people like saying that to us, being like, yo, when is Pulse going to do a ska song? Just because I guess it's kind of a, it's a genre with a lot of goofy, stuff in it. And we have a lot of goofy stuff in our music. So it's like people just said it would make sense, I guess. But so then it's like we finally just did it and it ended up being a little darker, like tonally, I think, than I initially thought when we were going to do a ska song. So then it just came to like, all right, well, the verses aren't going to, it's not just going to be more ska. It's got to have a little more heaviness to it. So it's got some of those like chunky kind of breakdowny parts in it. Like I put that like I had the idea to do like the breakbeaty kind of thing just because I'm a Shikari fanboy and just wanted to have a little bit of it's funny because I feel like when I was working on that part, it was more like, I guess Rao did some extra production on the Issues record. And that's what was like in my head was like that part of that song. So it's like not even a Shikari song, but like is from them, I guess. So that one's kind of like, it's just like we wanted to do a ska song and then it made sense to put Jer on it because they're like the CEO of ska at this point. So it just made sense.
Well, it can do sort of the ska meets emo, post-hardcore, all that kind of stuff too, as well, right? We talked about a few of these already. Well, like I mentioned it earlier, and I don't mean to keep taking all your guys' time, but it wasn't to be like this. I know it's less than a 2-minute long song, but I'm trying to think of like the genre I'd throw on that one because it is like a very like not out of left field. It fits in the record, fits your voice, Caleb, like big time, all those kinds of things. But it feels almost like a. I'm bad at genres that aren't heavy. I don't know the correct subgenre out there. But it feels like a super catchy hook. Like acoustic guitar going on some samples. What was the inspiration behind that one? Because that one is definitely like not as like quote unquote scene oriented in the influence, I guess I would say, than some of the other ones. What was the influence there with the songwriting? Who was kind of the spearhead of the songwriting on that one, and just kind of speak to that.
So it was kind of like Kevin and I had the idea because basically that the inspiration for that song is just straight up early 2000s R&B, like no core shit, nothing, just straight.
It does
up
have
that
the bleed.
Shit.
It does have the bleed kicks on it though.
Big time. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. It does have the bleed kick pattern at one point.
It's
but then
arm
also,
bleed.
I will say the only scene thing that it is doing is taking the place of the acoustic like interlude outro and just flipping it instead of making it like an acoustic ballad like every other scene record is. It's an acoustic ballad for R&B. Like I don't think anyone's done that on a scene record.
I'm trying to find because
so it's like
go ahead. No, I'm trying to find. I had a playlist for like the song. Maybe it was a note on my phone, not a playlist, but I had like a list of because I produced like the beat for it, and I had a list of songs that y'all had like showed me, kind of to be like, this is what we kind of want. Let me see if I can find it while you're talking about it, Caleb, and then I'll talk about
it's
the
like I would
production
assume, like I know for me, I was like basically it also just stemmed because this is still kind of like a pandemic record in a way for us because we're slow like that. So it's like during that time, Kevin and I would have these YouTube nights, where we just, rock our shit, throw up some shit in the queue, and a lot of it was just stuff we grew up listening to. Like there's a lot of times where it was like scene shit, like classic scene shit, but a lot of time because again we grew up listening to like R&B and hip hop, so it's just like listening to that stuff from the early 2000s, putting on like Usher, like Ray J, or like Chingy, or that kind of ilk. So that's, or like T-Pain. Literally, I know like the fucking guitar sound is damn near the same thing, if not the same thing as T-Pain used on In Love with the Stripper.
That was definitely one of the things I was going for, is because that fake ass like slide that's on that song, because all the guitars on this song are MIDI. Like there's no real instruments, quote unquote, on this song. And I'm still trying to find this playlist, but that was one of the ones I was like.
So the guitar is MIDI?
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
You guys fooled me, man. I really would have thought you.
It's funny.
I thought maybe you would use like some weird mic placement or something for it, but I did not catch that But I guess it's you don't want guitar to sound MIDI, right? But like I thought you set up some microphone in a room and just kind of recorded it.
It was like because like that T-Pain song, for example, and a few of the other examples that I have in that playlist, wherever it is. I know one of them was a like a TLC song, I think too. But it was just awesome. It's like all the guitars are like keyboard guitars, and they're not particularly good keyboard guitars either, because it's from like the early 2000s when MIDI sampling wasn't as good.
This was not the greatest.
Yeah. So I just grabbed like the stock Logic acoustic plugin and just played it on keyboard. And I remember like we had like a production day where we were going through everything, and Caleb was like, I might just like record guitar too, just so we have it. And I was like, I don't know that it is playable the way it sounds because I played it on a keyboard. So I was like, all the chords are like
all over the place, and
the chords are all like really close, like piano voicings. So like they don't really translate to a guitar without putting it in like some weird open tuning or something. So it's just like. But then I think we blended it. Caleb, you blended it, I think, with like the nylon string patch too.
Yeah,
and
it's basically just two of the Logic guitar samples.
Mm-hmm.
And then, even for it, it's just like it made it capture that sound even more. It's just like it would not have sounded the same with real guitars at all.
Right? Yeah. Oh, I mean, it shows how much of a dumbass I am, but like but not. I absolutely like. I thought in some ways, again, less than a 2-minute long track. It segues well into the album Ender, I think, in a lot of ways. But I thought it was a fantastic track. Like I thought your voice like just sounded so good on it. Like it was one of the ones that like
thank you so much.
I would listen through and I would just go back to that one because it's like 2 minutes long, so I can go back and listen to it real quick, right? But also like it like every line is catchy. Like it felt like every kind of vocal melody you threw in there could be a chorus, like or a hook or whatever. It was fantastic.
I'm glad. It's just like I know, like you saying, with how short it is, it's kind of funny, and that's like, and I'm glad also that it has like it is the title track. How it's just like it's such a joke song, but also not at all.
Yeah, it's not a filler, right? Like that's the thing. Like, see, like I'll be honest, when I saw the track listing and I saw minute 45 or whatever, I was like, oh, that's gonna be the interlude, right? Like that's gonna be the interlude into the final track or whatever.
Which it almost was at one point. We had talked about making it more of like an interlude, but then it's just like once we landed on the idea of like, okay, like early 2000s R&B ballad, it was like, all right, well, now it has to be kind of like more songy, but it was going to be just a lot of beats and, well, I mean, it is a lot of beats, but it was going to be more of like to lead in, but it still leads in because the B section of it is like one of the guitar parts from the last song. So like, it's still like a 2-parter kind of thing. And with the title and everything too.
Obviously with the titles and all that, I assumed that was the case, and that definitely flows that way. I guess the last question I have for each one of you that I want you to answer individually, and then I'll let you go. And we'll obviously play with when this comes out. We'll play the newest single at the end of this as well. But we'll start with Matt, then Caleb, then Kevin. Tell me if you have to pick one track, because I can't do that fantasy band shit with you guys because I've done that. But you have to pick which everybody hates, but I still do it because I'm an asshole.
I like it.
I appreciate it. You're the one guy.
Did Dan said Beethoven? Was that?
Yeah, Dan said Beethoven. The
Oh,
full
shit.
orchestra. And I was like,
Yeah.
that might have been the best answer, you know. But, Matt, we'll start with you. If you have to pick one song, what's your favorite?
It's probably Honesty.
Or
Honestly.
which one? You don't have to pick favorite, but maybe which one means the most.
Yeah,
the
I
most
think it's
to you.
Honesty. Honestly, I think just came out so good. Like
Very
Sierra's
cohesive. Yeah.
Like I remember like the instrumental. I was like, this is cool. And then I think after we tracked it, the next thing that got added was like all the production stuff, and I was like really, really happy like with that one in particular, with like the stuff that I added to it, like keyboards and vocal chops and whatever. And then I remember Caleb sent like just the demo of the vocals, and I was like, holy shit. Like hearing it with the melodies and everything, I was like, this song. And then we were sitting there writing it with Sierra, and like I just heard her humming like her melodies, and I was like, this the one. Yeah. So, and it's just one of those songs where I'm like, I love every single thing about that song, and I think it's like one of, if not the best songs we've ever done. So I don't know. Yeah, that or But It Is up there too, but that's probably the main one. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Joe, your choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I would agree to that, but I'll give it just a different answer because I know honestly is definitely one of my like top of all time. But it's just a different answer. I love Take a Look, Y'all. I love everything that came out of that. I love Kevin's verse. That's one of my favorites he's done, and I know I'm proud of that. For me, like I feel like that's one of my favorite vocal performances that I've done. Like I'm just really happy with like the melodies and the harmonies I was able to throw on it. And then Ben's part, it's just a hype song, and it's another one of those I feel like just embodies our ethos. And,
Well, it's it's actually one of those ones that it reminds me when I listen to the record, and I feel this way about honestly in a different way too. But that one, it's like no other band in the scene is making a song like that, right? Like that's where I think. Guys, not I think I toot your guys' horn like a ton whenever I have you on because you guys are genuinely great, and it's not just because you'll allow me to pick your brain for an hour numerous times, but the influences you guys throw on, and especially that one where there's like all these there's a lot of hip hop reference. There's in my mind from what I listen to, there's a lot of like kind of the early 2000s metal references in this that aren't like post hardcore. Right, there's like all these different things that like other bands that kind of get looped in with you guys like aren't doing anything like that, so I think it's also just like another super original track that you all put out that is also like not lacking. It's not some band having growing pains and doing some weird references that don't make any sense, right? Like we've all heard those bands that try to do something and it like so bad, right? Like it's not like that because you actually listen to this kind of music and actually throw those influences in. It's
exactly
fantastic.
Like I know for me, just to finish off before I pass it off to Kevin, it's just like we always try and just come at things in the most authentic way we can, even if we're kind of like borrowing from another place, so it's like that song was really influenced by like G-Funk, so like Snoop Dogg shit, Dre, or like fucking Nate Dogg was what I was really trying to shoot for. Like some of the vocals.
I feel like that's one that we're trying to do for so long too, and then we finally made it work. But I remember we were like, how do we make a heavy G-Funk song, because G-Funk is so chill like and slow. It was like it's so slow that it's hard to like make it, you can't make it punky because then it's fast. So that one like took forever. But yeah, Caleb, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Thought of that.
No, so it's exactly as you said. It's just like I feel like not to pat ourselves on the back, but yeah, other people aren't writing it or executing it in that way, or it's just like thinking about it like in that kind of deal. So it's just like the fact of we were able to do it, execute it in a way that I feel is compelling and authentic. So it's something super proud of.
Absolutely, Kevin. What's your favorite track on the record?
They already took both of them.
You can pick either one and say your piece on it. You don't have to find it.
I'll pick a third. I'll pick a third. Because it is also important, and we also got to talk about it, and it's also the single. Loafers with the White Sox is a great song. I love it. I think it's like another one of those strictly unique songs that you're only going to get from Pulses. I think it's super cool to collaborate with friends in such a way, where we kind of like, it's not just about the people that are popping. It's like we could have easily, got Nightlife, Hansel, or I don't know, just somebody that everybody knows, on these tracks. Like
Loveless.
Whoever's the it kid. What would you say?
I said Loveless.
Loveless. We could have got
Kellen
dude
Quinn
from Dayseeker. Was it
Roy
Roy?
Rodriguez.
Could have got Bad Omens dude or whatever, and then like made a like super scene banger or whatever. But no, it's like no, Nightlife's a friend, but they're pretty popular. Like Hansel is pretty popular right now. Joey Lancaster's an old friend we've known for years. His band is currently in the studio, so hopefully they'll be back soon. But that's even more of a reason, it's like, hey, they're not even current, they're still on the track. And then Gavin is, the longtime close friend, that's doing his own thing, not in a band right now. I think.
No, well, I mean, like we keep saying we're gonna do shit, but we ain't doing shit.
Y'all gotta figure that out. Anyway, it's about a family affair type thing, and I love that. And also, it's just since this is a podcast about issues and things like that, like political and societal things, it's black music, bitch. Like it's about us. Like, yo, we're putting on for our people, and not a lot of people do that in our scene in that way. So I'm really proud of it because, you ain't getting it from most of the pasties. So,
and we say that even still having two of the features be two white dudes, but they're down with the shit. They're down with the shit. So it's just like, hey, everybody can be a part of it.
Exactly.
Again, to talk about it since it's the single coming out next, just the fact that you were all able to fit that many voices onto a song and not make it feel like a clusterfuck.
It was an endeavor.
That's like talent organizationally. You know what I mean? I would not be able to do that.
Caleb was in there with the scissors just chopping up.
Yeah, no, like deadass. I probably spent as much on that song, like production and editing wise, as like 2 or 3 songs combined. Because especially because it's just like, of course, each person heard kind of what the other was going to do at some point, but not all the time when they wrote it, for example. Right. So generally my direction was just like, do whatever you want and do whatever's nice. Throw as many harmonies on your own shit as you want, throw whatever melody you want to do. And then here's some other sections that I want you on just so that we can all play around each other. Right. And then from there, it was just, moving, copying, pasting, moving everything around. Like, for example, I was like, again, just to have that interplay more, Gavin and Hansel had both the pre-choruses and they both did their own harmonies for their own section. But I was just like, okay, I'm going to switch the harmonies, So Gavin's harmonizes during Hansel's first pre-chorus and Hansel harmonizes in Gavin's pre-chorus. And then not only just that, I also Hansel just went the fuck in because that's, their bread and butter when it comes to vocal production. So like all that shit, he had so many tracks, but there was just amazing. Like there's just so many tracks in general.
How many vocal tracks did you end up with? I know you said 60 something, and that was before
like 60 or something.
It was 60 something before we added like the last chunk in, because we had to do this in like different. We saw like the initial. We were like, here's our parts. Hansel, you write your pre-chorus, and then after Hansel wrote the pre-chorus, it was like, okay, now Gavin do his pre-chorus, but do it different. And then Joey sent Joey's over, and then we were like, all right, now send it back to everybody. We need you to harmonize this, you to harmonize this, you to talk here, whatever. So it took forever just to put it together.
Kudos to you guys for the brain and the organization to do that. I would give up and just like bang my head against the wall.
I was at certain points, but the whole thing was just like, this track's gonna be amazing. I gotta get through this shit. But like I was like,
yeah. Well, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for doing a deep dive on this record. I think people are absolutely gonna love it. I could see this making some waves with some people. So I I'm stoked to see what the reception is from it. I'm stoked to see like what comes with it. Of course, this is coming out after you announce the record release. So tell people when it's going to be out, and where people can find you, and then we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, the record, third LP from Pulses. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Is coming out 9/29. So yeah, not too far away. You can find it on all the streamings and all that. We'll have pre-orders on Bandcamp for vinyl tapes and CDs because those are cool. You can find us on pulsesva.com. You can find us at pulsesva on like everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Thread, or yeah, we have Threads.
We do.
We have Blue Sky. I haven't done anything on there yet though.
I didn't realize we had a Pulses Blue Sky.
We do. I just wanted to steal it.
I got on there, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do because no one I know is on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you guys are like some of the like 14 people I know.
Yeah, same.
So if it blows up, we'll be over there.
We'll be there.
But yeah, I think that kind of covers it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for going over this, guys. I really appreciate it. Again, we'll play
good time
with the White Sox at the end of this. And I really hope to see. I think we'll see great things from the reception of the record. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah,
appreciate you.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be on here, man. Thank you.
All right, everybody, make some noise.
All right, y'all, good vibes only in the spot with us tonight. We got Nightlife in the house. We got Belle in the house. We got Gavin in the house. It's Sauces in the house. Yo, we keeping it classic, all you loafers with the White Sox. Do not play.
Make you wish my once was there.